Hello, everyone. Welcome to my final poetry and music salon. It's been a 3.5 years series. Okay, I'm going to really try not to let this... So I started out in 2014. I had a solo show at Urban Gallery at Queen and Parliament. Calvin Hambrook and Alan, they're just absolutely the most wonderful people. And they ended up giving me a 2-month show because they were going off to Thailand and they didn't have the other month booked. And the only thing they said to me as they waved from the plane and then from their hammocks was, we'd like you to introduce people to our gallery. It was only open about a year then, and we'd like people in Toronto to know we're here. So, what do I do? So, I had 2 poetry salons that were run by Banu Zan. She did Women of Color, and Philip Cairns did one as well. And then I learned from how they put it together and everything, and I did one of performance poetry with John Oughton and Luciano Jacobelli, and I danced through everybody's pieces because I thought we needed more zazz. What else? I had a life drawing session there one Saturday, and I was going to run a poetry workshop another Saturday. We did a dance... sort of yoga dance on a Saturday, because you're an artist, you're sitting there all day, all afternoon Saturday. So I had all these things to bring people in. It was really great. And then the show was over, and I missed Urban Gallery so much, and I was going to the openings, and then Calvin phoned me up and said, "Would you like to come in? We'd like to talk to you." So I go in, and I'm like, "What is it?" And he said, "We really miss you. And we would really like you to continue your poetry and music salons." And it was like, whoa! So it was wonderful. And I think I started maybe that year in April. I think Clara Blackwood was one of my first features. Yeah, do you think? Was that in April or May 2014? Claudio Gaudio was there. Maybe that was Michael Marola. Maybe you were the second one, and maybe they were the first. I don't really remember. I started videoing, though. I've had a lot of successes and total bloops with the videos. So in those first days, there were times I just didn't, the audio wasn't recording, and oh my goodness. So yes, I've grown as a videographer, for sure. I've grown much more comfortable in front of a camera, which is excruciating to see ourselves in video. It's like every month I go, oh my God, why did I wear that? Or whatever. It's hard for all of us, but I've grown more comfortable and begun to accept, I've become more of a performance poet because I've done a lot of open mic in my salons, and I've been able to experiment. And I've had lots of people come out regularly, and I've watched them grow as poets and in their comfort performing, because the video is a teaching tool. So you see yourself on video and you go, oh, next time I'm going to do this. And so I've seen the community really grow in presentation. That's been amazing and gratifying there. So then I moved to Charlotte's Gallery, which was another absolutely wonderful, marvelous place in Charlotte Hales. I absolutely love her. And we had some beautiful salons there. But once again, you can't do it this Saturday, we're installing a show, or the gallery's rented. So then we went to Markham House, where again, we're promised the last Saturday of every month I can build an audience. Oh, Hot Docs is renting for 2 months. I'm sorry, So I came to the library, and the librarian here completely understood and said, well, let's try a couple of test ones, see how they work, and then if it's good, we'll start in September, and we guarantee the last Saturday of every month. That will be your time space. And then I'm like, finally, a home, and I can build an audience. However, things come up, and I don't pay for the space. This is a free a community event. It's, for the neighborhood. I live in the annex. Most of us who have books, well, all of us who have books, they are in the library. We are the authors, without which the library wouldn't exist. It's a really good thing for a library to have a poetry and music series and support local arts communities. But it's just not possible to give me the same time slot every month, and it was too difficult trying to get people out when it was this evening this month, and then next month it was at a different evening and a different time. So we did work it out, and they gave me to the end of June, and I'm very, very grateful to have had this space now for over a year. It's been phenomenal for us. It's a real theater, lighting and a sound, and it's just, it's been such a gift, and I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful to Yana Georgieva Kaluba, the librarian who was here, who welcomed me into Palmerston, and Misuk Hedman, the manager here, who's been wonderful to allow me to continue to this June. It's been good, and we will take a break. I have lots of super decadent chocolate chip cookies and lemonade in the back. I will be passing the donation box, for the refreshments and the feature, but I will also be donating some of it to Doctors Without Borders. We had an incredibly successful fundraiser last month for Doctors Without Borders and raised $1,143.55, which is phenomenal. For a poetry and indie music community, I am so proud of all of us. We're a giving, loving, wonderful group of people. I couldn't be more privileged to have run this poetry and music salon and just have all this love. It's amazing. So I do run a tight ship. I do everything myself, and I'm happy to say there's been no gossip, no backbiting, no problems. In fact, what I have seen over 3.5 years is just how loving this community is and how frickin' talented we all are. We're awesome. We are awesome, each in our own way. And people have come and read and performed and sung and played music, and I'm just blown away. And it's part of the gift, because we are perhaps born or develop. We have these gifts, and they're in the arts, and they're beautiful. We give without thought of return, but we can't really do it any other way. And these salons have been a place where I've seen this tremendous giving and appreciation for each other and support for each other. So it's been a 3.5 year long blessing, and it will go on and on. So thank you for coming out. I love you all. That was my 5 minutes. We're going to start with a feature. He's featuring because he lives in Seattle. We all love Brandon, and we're very happy he's back in Toronto. When I heard he was going to be in Toronto, it was like, even if it's my last one, I am featuring you, Brandon. So I would like to honor Brandon Pitts and invite him up to read. He's got a couple of books out. He'll tell you.
Thank you very much, Brenda. And community owes you a debt. And Brenda's amazing, and she always inspires me to push myself. And I always see her trying out new things and taking risks. So tonight, I am selling my book for $15, but I'm not going to read from it. I'm going to read things I've never done in public before that no one's ever heard. I have a new book coming out on Mosaic Press in October, and called In the Company of Crows. I'm going to read the title poem, which is going to take up 99% of my set, and then I'll do a quick short one. This poem is written entirely from the subconscious, using different techniques of putting myself in a sort of a lucid dreaming state, so it may be a little weird. The poem, and it started after I was talking on the phone with my friend Jennifer, and she was upset about a series of deaths, and so it just kind of poured out from there. And anyway, but I'm looking back on it, and it's mostly about globalization, called In the Company of Crows. Oh, sister witch, love me this lifetime. Let us feel the soil from which our bodies are composed. With our backs to the planet, we can sense the earth shift as it allies itself with the storm. Speak to me of glyphs chiseled in minor, the language of infant and crow, visitations, dreams of a child. Dark bird, whisper secrets to the faint sleeper's soul. Black crow murder, fly into the night. Seek out expectant mothers who sweat. They cover their bump, hide it from husbands, knowing one day the unborn will walk the sacred path. O lone crow, perch upon roof, speak to the child within, for there will come a day when wise men travel, and your dead language will be spoken again. Monolith, electric, Father, my liege, press lips to thy succor, hold my head to feed. Each cell a solitary huff, sticky resin to letch, it lulls you into submission. Suck, breathe. Head of Bran, blessed crow, down they circle the tower. They stay the course, peck at feed, a floor of brown and bramble. There are those who would dig, raise the head, free the birds from their keep, but the oracle lies silent to those who won't travel, stuck in dogma of a white feather priest. O Severus, I have seen a sign in the augury of birds, ex avibus in flight. I do believe an omen exists when a black beak pecks the belly of a horn-cane toad. Severus, we too must pierce that dragon, steal the pigeon's score. For like the crow, we outnumber the eagle and tread with conviction through the valley like St. George. And for many days, I walked across heathen sands just to gaze at Valhalla. Its dome has fallen, but the wall still stands. The inscription remains unbroken. And this is how I came into the company of crows. Their language and customs guide me. For a blackened wing defying the sky will be pushed from the table by Goliath. So run, Steve, run, Jane, mark this spot. Don't let the family die. We have been captured into the service of giants, and their massive footfalls will rupture this planet. So run. If we are wolves, then you are my daughter. When the Lord vomits hail and fire, his hands that grasp are not open to receive. So drop crumbs from your last wafer. Mark this spot and flee, 'cause I was there when the sea of transmission pushed through the channels, not a shot, but a march straight through to convocation, and stood before the Senate, hand gripping a Bible, lecturing the assembly, married to money and the secret handshake of greed, a bone in a black hood, at one with a podium and lines pulled from a closet, a cabinet, a casket, a light on the merchant's marquee. When the watches stop, a fox will fear him, and all are silent when he speaks. Hush, in the Senate, we don't want the plebeians to hear. There are those among us who would blow out our sacred candle, expose the cabal, and coffin in our industry. So all bent in allegiance to autumn on the leaves of a democratic spring. Lord thy worm, futile my enemy. This is not the conflict of orders, but an orgy of dogs, and I don't have the teeth to fight my way to the trough, to snort among diners gorging on slop. Trial by treadmill, governed by the house, they're metering out your meat with grubby hands. Oh, agent protector, perch upon my shoulder. Show me the way, point out the venerable path. Help me spit out this sand swallowed while pushed into forced prostration. For this burning soil is not the center of gravity, and there are ghosts on this trailhead warning us to be wary. So mark this spot, and we'll meet here in the kind hereafter when the ocean conspires with trees. For there are times at night when I would cry, and crows would communicate with me through dreams, telling me of ancestors who settled this planet and taught us the sacred arch. We are luminous beings trapped in decaying flesh, stranded on Earth, gazing up at Saturn and Mars. Things change when they align with the moon. So Jennifer, do not cry for these absent friends. The departed have merely departed. They cannot be erased. They flew from the sun to feed on stars, and their scars were beautiful. Cannon shot barrel out on the road, over hot piston, ratchet reload. Tear it up now, fate 2 feet before our eyes. We'll outlast those bastards who worry about long life. We just have to give up enough and carve the thing deep. Blood on the hatchet, we'll teach those sideliners how to bleed. Make out with disaster and smash it on the rocks. Over hot piston, got no respect for the law. Tear it up now. Cast from the tribe, stand to be stoned. Pass the knife, because I walk with crows. Corvus, Corvus, caw at the moon. Cry out to those souls in waiting. For when you're ready to die, you'll look me in the eye and brace yourself out on the road. Hot asphalt, the smell of spent diesel. The truck will push you to the other side. For feather and waste can leave no trace of dark beings now luminous in ether. Deep within the dark of forest lies a fallen bird. Place a twig with considered care. Caw the ancient word. All that's left is but a trace of ancestors brave and noble, raptors who mastered the world, tearing at dragon's shoulder. Now, crow steals from pigeon, pecks at the horn-cane toad, feasts on worm and garbage, your supper interrupted, your table the road. We exist in shadows. Forces of light cannot touch us. In the chamber with bees, we take power from formation. So lay out your turtle dove, she-ram, and heifer, engrave with nothing, and you will be king. For in lands of moisture and darkness, when geese fly south, crows remain. This disease from you, harlequin joke, belching loud, teaching bad math. We are not like you. Crow respects wife. Knows to cipher, speaks from intuition. Your Theus, Cyborsis, electric liege. We will not bow, you will not lead. Your fortune was built on the worker's back. Empires topple when labor stands. Wolves admire treason when consumption murders bees. We will turn to face you, rise up, resist, and fight free. Gluttony, death, an eagle swarmed by crows. Signs I've seen in the augury of birds. Well, thank you. That's good. I got an applause because I've never done that in front of people. I had no idea if anyone would like it, you know. Anyway, I'm going to do another one that's brand spanking unheard, and it's a short one, and I'll end it with that. It's called, the title of the poem is, "A key component to satisfaction is believing everything you're told." Greta. Take your plump-wrist cousin by the hand, lead him from forest dangers, past the lodge of secrets, where the roof is thatched with maple sap. For the goose of the lake will peck chubby knees, and the mossnicks will point you south, beyond the Blackstack Hills, where wise men seek refuge in the parlor of bees. And do not eat from the mushrooms that grow in the patch, for they will indoctrinate you into the cult of the red speckled cap. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. It's terrific. Wow. Okay, well, thank you, Brandon. You know, a lot of times I'm so busy setting up and organizing and running it, and, you know, running up to the sound room and checking this and saying hello to people who come in, that I really listen to pieces when I do the video. So I'm looking forward to listening to that piece a number of times. And I hope everybody else will as well, because many of you have featured, and I edit your pieces. I watch them on YouTube a few times. So I really get a sense of your poetry and your style and who you are. So it's been an amazing process for me as a hoster? And lover of poetry, and I think I could write a dissertation on poetry in Toronto just based on the last 3.5 years. Okay, so our next feature, well, you're all spotlights. I'm not calling anything open mic. One of the things that I set out to do with this series is I've gone to a lot of other poetry series, and the features, of course, are the most important. An open mic is often relegated to the end. So not always, of course. There are some series where the open mic comes first, and, you know, I have chosen to really make everyone equal. So if you get 5 minutes, you know, you are as important as the person who happens to be featuring that day. And I've done this throughout the series, and wanted to honor every single person who comes out and shares. And I have been told I have some of the best open mic in the city. Many of my features come back again and again. And people will step up and give their best poetry, their best performance, if they know it counts. And it always counts here. Everything, every word, okay? Oh, you're fabulous. Okay, so John Oughton has been coming to these salons since the beginning. He's been a tremendous supporter of them. And there was a point where I wanted some theme music, but I didn't ask like a musician, because I've had the experience in the Creative Commons music where I will use a piece of music that's Creative Commons licensed for a video poem. I don't make any money from it, you know, and I credit and I list the website and I put it in the credits, and then that musician will monetize his music. He'll take that piece and put it into a CD and start selling it on CD Baby or whatever, and then my video gets slapped with a copyright violation. And I've had to take video poems down, and I've emailed some of the musicians, said, you know, I didn't do this to you. Like, this isn't really fair, but it is what it is. So John absolutely promised me he would just do a little track on his electric guitar with his magic box of sounds, and he would never turn it into a CD. And so he gave me a track, which I then proceeded to completely mix up, cut here, cut there, put that, change that. So it's probably, and put all kinds of filters on it, and then made an intro and a conclusion. So it's probably a collaboration. So I would have to be in on that CD. But I so appreciate it, because what I ended up doing was a kind of crazy stop motion of the whole salon. And then I play it over a minute under the credits, and it's like a Shakespearean prelude, where actually, you know, whoever comes out to do the prelude tells you exactly what's going to happen in the play. So those beginning stop motion bits are exactly who's there, what order they're in, what we looked like. And it's kind of your introduction into the salon, the video of the salon, and John is the music. So John is going to come and he's going to play and he's going to do some poems, because I want to honor him and thank him for his generosity in helping me out many times. Thank you.
Don't worry, I'm not going to try to sing. We know how these poetry and music salons usually go. The poets read poetry, the musicians play music. However, I've noticed at least one, our favorite violinist, committing some poems on stage. So this is revenge for the poets. So I'm just going to play a short improvisation. This is working, which it is, and then read you a couple of poems. And if anything goes wrong, remember, I'm not a professional musician. You can't sue me. Where the subway comes in. Thank you. Thanks. I was going to play a solo to a backing track of Little Wing, but we couldn't get the backing track to work. And anyway, they probably would have sued me, so there you go. So I'm really a musician, so if anything goes wrong with the poetry, you can't sue me. All right, now you have to provide the music for this one. This is a poem of mine called Canadian Love Song. And what you have to do is hum as high as possible. Can you manage that? Let's hear it. That's pretty good. And occasionally slap yourself or a nearby person. So, got it? Okay, here we go. I have an itch, which is you, calamine pink, mosquito blue. Floating I smell your tender skin, the blood you bubble to draw me in. I've got an itch that wants your bite in humming sun, in hatching night. Your touch stings, sting me awake, scratch away these weeks without wings. In tent, in bag, portage canoe, mosquito pink, calamine blue. Thank you. Okay, and I thought it'd be appropriate to read a couple of poems about poetry and or writing. The first one is called The Perceivability of Poetry. My father was a scientist, and in the basement we had stacks and stacks of old Scientific Americans going back to the 50s. And I found in there an ad from Bell Telephone in 1959, and they listed some phrases that they use. Engineers wrote these phrases to test how good telephone equipment is. So one engineer would be sitting in a room somewhere reading this phrase, And then the other engineer in the other room would write it down, and that would tell them how good the phone was working. Well, I thought this was pretty interesting. So I took these phrases. The native Hollander wears wooden shoes. Nebraska has no seacoast. The daisy is a common wildflower. And then I mixed them up into this poem, which is called The Perceivability of Poetry. True, few will listen when poetry calls. They think they've got the wrong line. A harangue in some exotic tongue, a satellite call from Mars, subscription offers to eternity. But I'm here to tell you, Nebraska has no sequels. The daisy has come in wildfire. Nate in colander wears wouldn't choose. And this news has the clarity of any you receive. Poetry's in the curve from mouth to ear. Even as we talk, we agitate carbon grains that squeeze our words into a spiral cord and boil them out the other end. And you still say poetry isn't clear? Well, the word is a widely common weed, but I seek no hose, nor will dead ask her. And the days you see are my wood shooting onto a seacoast. What has more clarity than a daisy? And yet, I mean by daisy, time, change, pollen on the flying legs of bees, the sun surrounded by our white faces, the shaded meaning of any word, the petals that burst from the ear when I sing. Now, tell me what you heard in what I said, and I'll let you go. Thanks. And the last one I'm going to read is called The White Page, and I wrote it in memory of B.P. Nichols. Some of you might remember, a great performance poet, sound poet, concrete poet, member of the Four Horsemen. Died tragically young when a hospital operation went terribly wrong. But if you walk in the alley behind Rochdale that goes by Coach House Press, that's the B.P. Nichol Lane, and I think one of his poems is set in the pavement there. So go do that walk someday. Facing the white page, its feature, formlessness. Make the first mark, start, invoke a chain that pulls down the curtain on the other chains, the page white. Arctic expanse, space gone crazy, go crazy. Pee your name in drifting loops across the page. Calligraph it with a brush dipped in gas, sign it with a match, the burning page frozen. Erase, delete, recover, the page still white, white always, waiting. Nose to the page, you feel distant movement, molecules chanting along the lines, rhythm. A tiny black dot in the white distance, all words condensed into one whole dot, growing, racing at you, Doppler effect of sidebands, parallel text, sliding tones pulled along in the slipstream. The whole page, black, bursting around you. Roar in your ears of many languages, multiple lines. Black shreds of punctuation eclipse, fall away. The page, white again, but now a negative. From memory, you begin to pill the page, alter it, telling the page, lining its altar with your symbols finely aligned. The cup, the cloth, speaking lips, the blood-red wine alters the memory. You were never Catholic. As the page, now someone else, strike out, crumple a match to it, reflecting this white page, writing in the shadow, adumbration, not too much light on the subject. Leave room for language to uncoil in the shade. Page, bring me my helmet and sword. Is it false to take meaning from the sound? Aren't all things signs? Slaying the page with a single stroke, writer's dream on white sheets of night, coming back to dance on the page next morning. Feet brush by like vowels along the lip of the page, still white, the heart of the page. Untouched, unlined, acquiescent, questioning, mute, demanding, scar that mind never achieves, is so lined with words, with music, with hunger for the white page. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. We're going to just start moving along here. I'm going to stop talking so much. So up next is Wolfgang Dios. And Wolfgang has been a regular at the Salon since we moved to Palmerston. And it was just maybe 2 months ago you did your first spotlight. Yeah. So anyway, welcome, Wolfgang.
It's good to be here. Good afternoon. My name is Wolfgang, and I'm going to do one song. It's called Someone Else's Eyes, and I've just finished work on a 6-song CD, and it is one of the new songs. It is on that CD. And it was written about my mother and for my mother, and she died in 1979. But anyway, Someone Else's Eyes. All right, try to get that there. Can't see it. Asked you something, you asked you? Okay, I have to. Sorry, I'm left down. Sorry. Is there any way of getting this mic lower? No? Yeah. Because I'm looking up and I'm trying to. Sorry? Oh, great. Yes, that's perfect. Thank you. If I asked you something, you would have an answer. If I was shy, you'd say you were my friend. If the world just got too much for me to handle, I'd trust you with my hopes and all my dreams. It's about the things that often remain unspoken, that we hold close until the day we die. And on that day we'll take a look around us and see ourselves in someone else's eyes. Well, come to me in the lonely night and it's just a dream, but I hear you say, when all is lost and all is won, it's in my heart that you live on, and I'm still here with you. Because of you, I never stop believing that tomorrow would be better if we tried. That sorrow was a guest that must be honored. You promised you would only stay the night, and in your smile I saw so many reasons to be myself when it was hard to do. And when my memories are sometimes troubled with what I did and what I could not do, well, come to me in the lonely night and it's just a dream, but I hear you say, when all is lost and all is won, it's in my heart that you live on, and I'm still here with you. It's about the things that often remain unspoken, that we hold close until the day we die. And on that day we'll take a look around us and see ourselves in someone else's eyes. Well, come to me in the lonely night, and it's just a dream, but I hear you say, when all is lost and all is won, it's in my heart that you live on, and I'm still here with you. Thank you. That's it. Thank you very much. I finally got it going.
Thank you, Wolfgang. That was wonderful. Next, we have Kath MacLean. She was one of my first features the first year, and she was at Purdy House, so she was close by, and I was absolutely delighted to have her come out and feature. And in fact, the video that she's in is one of the most watched of the Salon videos, so very happy she came out to share a spotlight on the last Salon. Welcome, Kath.
Before I start, I want to thank Brenda for so much hard work. She's put her heart, her soul, and so much sweat into this whole thing. So thank you so much, Brenda. And for talking me into doing this today, too. So I'm just going to do a couple because I know there's a lot of us today, and my poems are long, and some of you may have heard them, so I'm sorry. But I'm going to read from the manuscript that I just finished, the one on modernist writer H.D. and her sessions with Freud in the 1930s. So I'll read two. One is specifically, she's talking about her memories of Ezra Pound before World War I, around the time while she was engaged to him. And the other one is from the dream section of the book, because I looked very closely at Freud's theories of dream, and it's from the part of it called resisting analysis, because I don't want to go there with the academic stuff, right? So this one is called, this is in HD's voice, and this is called You Spoke of Grapes. In my friend's house, there are many rooms with doors that open and close and open. I don't want to explain the intricacies of biologies or elucidate pathological impulses, equations. I've never had a head for algebra. I failed, was a failure. You remember my failing? Yet, I was not jealous. How could I be? He was a satyr. Everyone knew it. And I, just a girl he carried into the forest, even then, he did not complete the metamorphosis. Padding through the woods, tenacious, wild, his flowering rod, a shrieking mandrake, knew no bounds. Trees shook, and the forest, it seemed, submitted to his whim. This was no Gothic illusion. He was God's own goddamn country. His mandrake adrift in leaves, in the sound of their rushing free, I suffocated. I was tree. Shaken, I shook in my friend's house. But even then, walls would not fall. Doors opened. I was the one, he opened, and suffocated, he opened. I was not jealous. How could I be? There was no naming this queer quiver, this pulse, and the mandrake shrieking, rooted in tree. Here, where even the walls do not fall, trees shook, leaves rushed to escape the harlequin. I was tree, shaking, quivering. But you spoke of grapes, and air, and grapes, and suffocated. I am starving. I told you I'm a little long-winded, so I will do, this will be my last one. So this one is, as they say, from a different section of the manuscript, from dreams and from meditation and working really hard to resist all the theory. This one's called Who But the Dead? A black bear shimmies up a Harris pine, rounds its back, hedgehog prickly, and perforates time. My hand, lost in the pocket of my old coat, curls around an acorn. Wind in the oak leaves. Ah, now, another day, another dusk. Here we might live forever, mouth to mouth. Say nothing, tell me nothing. The sun shifts, sinks against the sky. Still you do not wake. Still you do not stir. Rubbing the acorn, a week, a month, years pass. Who but the dead measure time? A black moon, Mercury retrograde. I could dream, but it's crowded here. Pictures, words, too many images to decipher. I don't understand. What happened yesterday? Before, I was waiting for tomorrow. Ah, now, I am listening for the dead. Today, tick-tocks, and the clock sighing will not rewind. September ends without much to say. Listen, that's the last strain of summer. The cicadas do not sing as loudly as they did before. Squirrels jump from branch to branch, leap from the vines, land on the roof, thump, thump. Mother says it's raccoons. I know better. Look, there are apples, small ones, gifts in the grass. Dog is delighted and watches the sky for falling fruit. The linden tree leans against its branches. We are tired. The sun sleepy. Me too. Rubbing the acorn, I am perfectly content, thumbs pricking to think of you. Reading late, playing fire and light, strike a match. Is it dark yet? There are no stars in the sky, tigers, lambs, chimney sweeps. A forest of bears disappears, innocence gone. A hedgehog loses all sense of direction. Head full, the fruit forgotten in the grass. Light fades. I do not recall the hour, the last strain of summer, a field of falling acorns. Wind in the oak leaves. Ah, now. I fear the cicadas do not sing as they did before. And I'll stop there.
Fabulous. Thank you, Kath. Next up is Stedmond Pardy. Yay, Stedmond! Stedmond has been a regular since the beginning. To come down, Stedmond. And, oh, is it your birthday? Oh, my birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Stedmond. Happy birthday to you.
Sectarian death squads wandering the deserted deserts of a crackhead's pipe dream, who can turn vinegar into your favorite wine and contaminated water into champagne. I can transform your ills into ahs, like a strong Germanic king. For you I'll survive being taken for a ride by a burly Calabrian hitman with piercing gray blue eyes, jet black hair, and a high-pitched falsetto. For you I will race, sprint through a swarm of enraged African bees, and emerge unstung for you. For you I'll super glue my stacked deck of upturned cards on every smashed glass table, and wear my liquid skeleton outside of my soft, skin, like a twin crab scuttling indirectly toward its goal, which lays directly ahead of it. I'll rip off your blindfold made of wool and remove the muzzle from your mouth and tear up the stale book of old rules. For you, I'll free the imprisoned goldsmith, if I must, and bear witness to the penultimate truth. For you, I shall evade the dissolution. For you, I'll confide my secret belief that when Salvador Dali died, he became again our supreme ruling deity, which explains why the world is the way it now is. For you, I will shine a harsh, unbearable light upon everything that has ever been lost and forbidden, burnt, hidden, and reveal the hoarded, esoteric wisdom of the ages, unbag the legendary cat. I will shed the white blood of my soul to give you the skeleton key and the whole, unexpurgated hog. I will risk life, limb, love, sanity, poverty, health, and reputation, and pay the steep price in order to grant you a precognitive glimpse, a bald eagle's eye view of the things to come, and conjure something new. You have no idea what I'm willing to put my nervous system through. The perilous journeys of Enoch, Dante, Quasi Benepo, Kevin Garvey, and every romantic, swashbuckling hero and human-headed bird. Bringing us the broomstick of the wicked witch of the West can't hold a snuff-bloody candle to what I've been through and will continue to go through to earn your love, and conjure something new. Something I've read before. I'm supposed to record it. It's a portion of a long poem that I'm going to record with a female poet. It's just a verbal duel while walking from College Street up to like St. George Station. So kind of like a back and forth. So that's one of my sections from it. All right. My last poem is part 4 of a left-handed symphony I wrote for the soul of Tennessee Williams. I performed it once at Brenda's, but it was kind of a bloodless performance. So hopefully I'll be able to redeem that performance. Blow out your candles, Tennessee. Blow out your candles with a plastic medicine cap between your teeth, like a purple flower on a red table. And a sundial made of stone. Blow out your candles with no cough to cover the sound. Blow out your candles, Tennessee, like a ferocious-eyed woman with one of her ankles getting bitten by an irate swan, or a Japanese mountain collapsing due to the fall of heavy rain. Blow out your candles with the thermometer in your mouth. Blow out your candles like a gladiator affrighted by the specter of a terrible review on opening night, like old bedridden complainers and dazzling, implacable young shut-ins. Blow out your candles with a partly bandaged limb and a simple invention that changes everything. As tents are being blown off of their moorings, as a barman slips into his clothes for a summer hotel and impassively wipes our dirty table, to raise to a new stage the edifice of modern life, blow out your candles, Tennessee, like a carnival barker in the French Quarter getting higher than a flightless bird, and the suicide rate in Japan on the newly legal hard stuff, like the Witch of Capri, entering a sea full of Medusas, like 2 women galloping across a smoky, artificial music hall atop a mechanical horse, as if they were an intricate sand painting done by a Tibetan monk. Blow out your candles, unencumbered by the man-made catastrophe and the attrition of the nod of Papa Time. Blow out your candles from the belly of a beached whale, from the mouth of a lion, a spacecraft, and snake. Blow out your candles as Mother Earth has shaken many civilizations from her back and the stage is slowly dimmed. Blow out your candles as a strange inert figure of someone you once cruised at a bar drives out of the dense fog in an abdicated roadster with one of your crushed heroines to deliver their pale judgment by blowing out your candles, Tennessee, with the silent revolver. Thank you.
Thank you, Stedmond. Fabulous. Tom Hamilton. Gannon Hamilton. A very special man. He runs a fabulous urban poetry salon once a month at Mount Pleasant Library. He's a musician, violinist, can play any instrument. He's a poet.
I play guitar.
I don't believe it. So welcome, Tom.
I'm going to do something that I normally don't do. This is, well, the poetry that I brought has to do with international, well, actually national Aboriginal Month. I guess the actual day was a few days ago. But anyway, I thought I would give you something that is coming from a forthcoming book of mine. And I couldn't make up my mind whether I was going to do poetry or music, so I thought I would do both. Calf. Does this work? Check, check. A calf once was, in February, stuck on the solid meanders at Big Hill Springs. Now a leftover. Chewed, fibrous, legless, immersed in the coyote's glass table, the winter creek at Gorge Bottom, red discs, hemoglobular coins, no need for a tip, but there it is. Spring thaw will pick it up, like the waitress at the Calgarian. A drop of this once was, the buffalo drop is now downed with a glass of Pilsner, shared with Sam Spencer Owlchild, 72-year-old Blackfoot who chases the bison over the smooth surface like beer after whiskey, to be disgorged, to be dispatched at Gorge Bottom. The dust rising with his hands, the eyes swell with butchering, and in his ears the crumpled herd is bellowing. I'm not really there like Sam is, but in the hot Chinook with a crude stone axe, where we drank wine on parched outcrops, ate a chicken, and threw the carcass. Fall, 1959. Undeclared my Saturday morning boredom "Let's go," says my dad, a man of two worlds and almost as many words. Who am I to ask where? Who am I? No more can I self-identify than can the brown leather wallet with his license inside. Always on the car seat where we both belong. But a claim is made on me through the window by the wind, or something on it, long before we arrive. When we do, there is drumming. Women sing, feeling a stronger pull than my father's. I leave him in the parking lot, cut through the assembled, resembling a tall white birch stand, then ducking under the yellow cord as under a spell or into a dream, I fall into the smoky, steamy, dusty ring, into step with all the feather-bayed, buckskin-clad circle dancers who jingle when their moccasins touch the dirt. A single cell with a living wall that, in order to keep living, draws what it needs from its surroundings. Take me, for example, keen to move in time, keep time in its full measure, an old pulse. In my short sleeve, red and white striped shirt, rich fodder for the clicking cameras outside the ropes, my dad's face among them is not the same. He isn't mad that early in the day I broke loose without a word. Then again, I'm older now, old enough to know the way back home always looks different, since we have to face the direction from which we came, and remember how far back we have to go. But home has changed as well. I dare say what I dared not say then, following our first change of seasons powwow, and thinking back from this, my 50th or so, thanking my father for them all. Miigwech.
Thank you, Tom. That was great as always. Okay, our next spotlight is August Henry, who I have heard at Linda Stitt's, come on down, have heard at Linda Stitt's poetry and words and music salon. He's really good. So welcome, August. I'm really happy he came out.
Many years ago, when I was going through a divorce, I walked along the Humber River a lot by the old mill. And this is a poem from that period. To the river is a place I go to sort myself out. Oh, it helps me to see what I have become and what I need to lose. It's the place in the city away from the city, vaccination against insanity. The river is a silvery hymn of filial words and eternal sounds. My river, an ecstatic aphorist of birds and trout, carp and salmon, shopping carts and firestone retreads. Neon damselflies zither in the summer air. A goldfinch reaches down, a thirsty kiss, tethered uttermost to a willow wisp. Here the river dreams, caudal fin, whispers insects, heron, white gulls on a sandbar, the light in August uplifting wings. Stanley, I thought you'd like this. Okay, the next one. High Park. 4 scarlet tanagers riding shoots of black oak like musical notes in the wind. The world crashed in silence. I entered the tableau, fell into the Chinese painting, at one with eternal artifice and nature. Oh, beauty, time stopped. I died and was born. Imagine I ran up that hill to meet them. In that moment, transcendence, and the birds just flew away. Okay, one little more. I'm given a tour of a grand house in the country with a vista, not just a view. There is a sustained peace here and joy, and a room full of pictures that remembers the love of its family and their many friends. Standing in that room, the air suddenly split into 7 spectral jewels at my feet, and I stood a while very still, trapped in emotions, not having had a family. Outside, there was a garden to appease with work and imagination. Along the edge of the property, a waving cornfield and a deep sky to trampoline into. And there's an old barn, like a myth, to run around in and dream. The poem will find a way.
Valentina Assenza is here. I'm so delighted. And he's going to come up and do a poem. He runs Howl. He's got a book coming out. He's a fabulous poet. So welcome, Valentino.
Man, I didn't intend on performing tonight, or today. Today I didn't intend on performing today, and it's intimidating being in a dark room with so many talented names here. So I'm just going to do one poem. Many of you have heard it many times before. It is in my upcoming book. For those of you that are interested, I'm hosting Howl this Tuesday, June 27th, and spoken word artist Dwayne Morgan and a cappella singing group, the Au Pairs, are going to be on, so please tune in. This poem was inspired by Summer. A mentor of mine was injured, and he asked me to help plant sunflowers. So this poem is called The Sower, as in sowing seeds. You told me to come by and look at the sunflowers. You said that I had to see it for myself. You wanted me to see what I had planted. You said that some of them had grown 7 feet tall. Your backyard incubated the small relationship I had with flowers. Sunflowers. They were my favorite because they have obvious personalities, and it seems like they're always in good moods. The pictures showed a big, happy family with big, yellow smiles. I remember that day. Followed it. Glided on its timeline as though it was how it was supposed to have happened. You were hobbled. Perhaps it was an overexertion of passion or inspiration. I carried the heavy bags of soil to the backyard. You showed me how to spread the earth evenly, how deep to dig, and how delicately to let the seeds fall from my hands. Later, we chewed through medium-well steak and buttered potatoes and allowed ourselves the luxury of profanity during our conversation. Through 2 fingers of scotch on a projection screen in black and white, we watched Buster Keaton exude the locomotive that is the General. I left that night to a walk along still air. I levitated just above my mattress, kept fatigue at bay, and thought about the relationships between gardens, parents, and their children. How my grandfather always used to hold up his tomato plants with hockey sticks I wished I could have used. How my mother used to ask me to garden, I'd run right away from her. How Vito Corleone died in the garden while playing with his grandson. And how in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus knew he was out of options, did what his dad told him, and followed the passion of prophecy. And tonight, while looking at the pictures of the sunflowers, I remark at your ability to cross realms and enter other dimensions. I know that it's not so straightforward, that it's a lost symbol or a tongue spell that opens up that door. And I picture you there, playing possum with Buddha, flirting with truth, and waiting for the sorceress's robes to blow open. Somewhere in those confines is the garden untouched by the seeds my father and I had never sown. But there is a trail of footprints visible. I know there was a time when God took you by the hand, showed you how to spread the earth evenly, how deep to dig, and how delicately to let the seeds fall from your hands. It came in the form of ink droplets and precious virgin thoughts. And I know there'll be a time when the telescope will point in the other direction. God will take you by the hand and show you how you connected the celestial dots in your sleep and then present you with one of your very own. There'll be a mirror in the sky for when you reach that certain altitude. And you'll hear his voice calling to you. He'll tell you that you have to see it for yourself, that you have to come over. And he'll take you by the hand and show you what you planted. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentino. Next is Susan Helwig, who I first met at Lizzie Violet's Cabaret. She did a fabulous piece on art gallery. So welcome, Susan.
Just 2 poems for me. And thanks, Brenda, for running this series. What a wonderful archive you've got. Leaving. The sorrow came over me again this morning. Sheets of rain that can break all the ribs of an umbrella. This afternoon when it cleared, I took a walk and ended up at Gallery XYZ. The attendant guy never stopped talking. He followed me from room to room, and even upstairs where the sculptures are. I wanted to yell, "Shut up!" And then there was silence, like a door had slammed against the storm outside. And I saw you in the painting, sitting at the side of the bed, about to get up and leave. And the tiniest bit of your face appeared as you glanced back over your shoulder. It was sunset. Saw you last night, biking west on College. It was sunset. You seemed happy. I didn't call out. I hated when someone yells at me on the bike. Watched your back as long as I could. But I was too far from Grace to see if you turned there. Could be you now live somewhere else.
Exquisite pieces. Thank you, Susan. Next is Sharon Goodier. Sharon and I knew each other probably 3 decades ago when we were young and gorgeous. And then we re-met at Q Space. And she's been pretty much a regular on and off at the Poetry and Music Salon since the beginning. So I'm so happy she's come out to share at the last one. Thank you. Congratulations.
You know the expression, if things can go wrong, it will. They will. This is on us. Wars of ideas, privilege, passion, crimes of the past, Christians, liberals, communists, drenched in righteousness, surpassed by blood they shed. Ancestors, politicians, permitted pogroms, displacements, holocausts, ethnic cleansings. Today, all comfortable pews split. Slivers in our asses work their way, invade fascia, hard to remove. We sit on our splinters, mindful of blind spots, myopias. Status quo cataracts, grown to size, must be removed. We can correct for distance, see behind, ahead, sideways. Guilt paralyzes, anger motivates, sometimes to excess. Sorrow better, still not enough. Repentance transcends guilt, surfs on sorrow, implies reconnection to the best in us, in our world, moves us forward toward reconciliation, affirms that with every acknowledgement, we learn that if things aren't right, we can fix them. Signs of the times. It's as though the human genome exploded. All the dirt and grit and badassness that's part of human nature got splattered on our windows. When we look out, that's all we can see. Then teachers and students in Parkdale leave their classrooms to join a protest against unfair rent increases imposed on tenants, including families of students, by a slum landlord corporation. They carry placards and signs they made in class and speak articulately in front of news cameras. Suddenly, the muck-plastered windows don't look so daunting. We pick up our pails, cloths, scrapers, begin to clean them off. It is an Easter moment. Hope rises to trample on death, destruction, and despair. And the Easter Bunny brings a sweet taste of resistance. And the last one is perspective. Sun is always there behind the clouds, despite rain, snow, storms. It shines through the moon, lights the darkness, makes visible the roads that lead us forward. I walk this empty rural highway on a cool summer night. No streetlights here. Full moon behind casts my shadow in front, reminds me not everything is light, but every shadow is surrounded by it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Our next reader is somebody I met at Hot Sauced, and we had this very interesting connection. She had won a prize of some books, and one of them was Title Fearing, my book. And she was almost finished reading it, and she was really enjoying it. And this is like sort of the magic that, when you're an author. And then she wrote a absolutely wonderful, very insightful review, and she put it on Amazon. So you can go check it out on Amazon. And I love her poetry. I think there's going to be a really nice friendship here in the future. So welcome, Irena Nikolova.
It is a great honor and privilege to be part of this Poetry and Music Salon today. I would like to thank Brenda for inviting me. Yes. And I'm very happy to be part of this fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders. So today I'll read a few of my poems, which are part of my newly created poetry chapbook called Visions in Tranquility. The first one is called The Theater, and it is a poem about the contemplation of a bare stage in darkness. I thought it would be a very fitting poem to start with. The fog arches its back like a cat in the dark. We hold hands in the silence of no utterances. Hush. Silence creeps up my back on a chilly day where drops beat against the window like heavy pearls. We sit at the theater stage. No limelight, no candles in the dark. You and me, and a cat creeping in the silent dust. The next poem is called Ruins, and it's based on recollections of a trip to Rome in the year 2000. It focuses on the remnants of ancient architecture that invite us to uncover layers of history. And the epigraph is Raphael's epitaph in the Pantheon in Rome. Living, great nature feared he might outvie her works, and dying, fears herself to die. I walk in the blazing sun. My mind dissolves in an ancient world buried underground, engaged in ritual restoration. On transparent pages, drawings rebuild the ruins of Rome to their former splendor, and rough-hewn stone breathes through time. Fragments populate the cityscape. A powerful empire speaks through the ages, a paradox, emperors long buried. Fragments of a Grecian urn, marble figures alive and frozen, suspended forever in a moment of impossible desire. And the next three poems are darker visions of the world. The first one is called Roadkill, and it is based on an imaginary journey along the 401 from London to Detroit. The fog sullies our vision until we can barely move. A road crowded with cars, drivers eager to get through the ordeal of creeping slowly through a tunnel like rats, crossing the border into the US. A window rolls down. Damn it, Jesus, Scheiße, Tabernacle. Words plunge us into the depths of anger and fear. A whiff of fresh manure hits the nostrils, then the suffocating smell of skunk, and we cannot see a damn thing, moving along a roadless road, the fog all around us. This is a lousy journey. We have been creeping for hours. The brakes screech to a halt. A dead body lies on the road. A possum with a frozen stare. Another object, dead, roadkill. The smell of putrefaction dissolves into nothingness. The poem Occupy is dedicated to the Occupy movement of 2011. Throngs on Wall Street have gripped the West living in excess, in gaping chasm of rich and poor. Greece in tatters, Europe sinks and spirals in cesspool of depression, dives into nothingness. In Athens, old women wear worn clothes, beg for change. Drug addicts slump on marble stairs, abandoned buildings, streets littered, shops shuttered, hungry stories of despair. An Uzo bar owner eats donated meal of lentils, beans, and bread, then rests her head against a pillow stuffed with clothes, and blinds her eyes to homeless in the streets begging for food. Irate Germans hate bailout, go home to screens that bear and blare grim news of market dips, that leave us pondering the depth of pain, a void, a dark truth, frightening, futile. And the last poem is called A Parallel Universe, and it was inspired by reading Ian McEwan's novel, Saturday, and Di Brandt's poem, Zone, Le Détroit. Reading books, living in a parallel universe, we surrender to our imagination, gliding on the pages of a Saturday night with Henry Perron standing at the bedroom window, watching a plane on fire. A terrorist act? Post 9/11. The plane twinkles festively among the branches and twigs, watched by an insomniac in the city of London. In a world encumbered by threats of destruction, death, the ultimate leveling agent. Onto the zone, Le Détroit, in cars rushing along the 401 through a poisoned country, where glass and steel imposed upon the landscape have suppressed the colors of the spectrum, where highway accidents pounce on other victims. A postmodern world of fear, where threads lurk in the inky darkness, and our umbilical cords, severed from the world of nature, have left us alone to contemplate the wreckage we have wrought upon the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Irena. She teaches at the University Western University, and she's Bulgarian. Which I just side note. Okay, I'm African, you know. Many of us are from elsewhere. Yes. So our last spotlight before the break, and it's going to be a very short break because we have 7 people after the break, is Jeff Cottrill. I'm so happy Jeff came out. He was at the beginning. He came to a lot of the salons at the beginning. Keep coming down. And then he's come to the last couple, and it's just fabulous. So welcome, Jeff.
There we go. Thanks for having me here, Brenda. Nowadays, writing a love poem is a great way to get a stalking charge, so I decided to do something a little different. Oh, like that? Yes. Okay. Or is this better? Yes. Okay. How about like... So anyway, I decided to do something a little bit different. This is called Like Poem. Some writers say words can't express their love. Well, I don't love you. I merely like you. And surely words are good enough for that. I like you. You're kind of neat to hang out with, but only in small doses, not a lot. You're a swell opponent for a game of Risk or Clue or Cards Against Humanity. I'd watch a movie with you. Nothing great, not Casablanca or The Seventh Seal, but maybe that last Hobbit film, let's say. I'd never have sex with you, nor would I go on a long trip with you, because I'd get quite sick of you after a day or two. But we know it would never come to that. Shall I compare thee to a plate of Kraft dinner? I like Kraft dinner. It's a nice lunch snack. It'll do when you just don't have time to bake. If you eat too much, you may get indigestion or dysentery or maybe even worms. That's more or less how I feel about you. How do I like thee? Let me count the ways. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 2. That sounds about right. 2. Like me mildly, like me bland. Think I'm a-okay. Say hello and shake my hand and stay 2 feet away. Oh, my like is not a red, red rose, but more a short, stubby dandelion, which gets chopped in the mower on a Saturday morning. Oh, my like is like a melody, but not one by Mozart or Tchaikovsky. More like a 1980s pop hit, catchy and sweet, yet vastly disposable. Like something by Mr. Mister or Paul Young or Level 42 or DeBarge or Wang Chung. What, you don't remember them? Exactly. When a man likes a person, things still sort of carry on. He might bum a smoke or maybe lend $5 to you. If you're bad, he'll tend to notice, and then he'll stop liking you, turn his back on you, and delete you from social media. Love means never having to say you're sorry, but like means never having to say I love you. Roses are red, violets are blue, AstroTurf is a worthy practical substitute for the real thing. And so are you. Now, actually, I don't like AstroTurf. And come to think of it, I don't like you. No, you're annoying and you smell bad, too. Go away. Thank you. That was Like Poem. Thank you. And here's a new one, and it's also about liking things, coincidentally. It's called Social Media Schizophrenia. Oh, look, a puppy video. Look at him running and jumping all over the yard. Like. Oh, look at the little kitty. So cute, the way he's batting his paws at the laser beam. Like. Oh, it's a news story about a girl who saved a homeless man's life. So touching. I think I'm going to cry. Like. Oh, look, Steve wrote an anti-bullying poem. I'm so moved by his story of courage and overcoming setbacks. Like. What's this? Julian called Zoe Saldana hot? I am deeply offended by that kind of sexist objectification. Stab him in the eye. Oh, it's a long rant against violence and hate. So powerful. There's nothing there I could ever disagree with. Like, what? Terry posted a song produced by Phil Spector? But Phil Spector is a murderer. That makes Terry a murderer too. Stab him in the eye. Oh, look at the funny baby panda. Look at him. And they added music to the video to make it cuter. Like... Oh, Chrissy made a reference to Batman. I love Batman. Don't you love Batman? Everybody loves Batman. Like... Oh, it's a clip from the new Spider-Man movie. Another superhero film. They're the only films that matter anymore. Like... What? Bob went to see Wonder Woman? But Gal Gadot is evil. She condones killing Palestinian children. Stab him in the eye. What? Nick didn't see Wonder Woman? Well, that could only mean that he's against strong females. Stab him in the eye. Oh, it's that joke that puns on all the math terms. The fact that I get this joke makes me feel all smart and educated. Like, oh, look, George Takei said something again. I don't think I even need to read it. I already know I like it. Like, oh, somebody pepper sprayed a guy because he was manspreading on a bus. Well, I guess that's acceptable. Down with the patriarchy. Like, what? Niall quoted a song by John Lee Hooker? But hooker is a derogatory term for sex workers. Stab him in the eye! Oh, look at the lion cub trying to roar. I can't believe that cutie could ever grow up to be a savage death machine. Like, oh, look at Betsy's pictures of chocolate. Now I've got a real craving for 2-bite brownies. Like, oh, look at all... Whoa. Did I just use the term brownies? But that's an old slur for mixed race people. I'm a racist. BRB, I have to go and stab myself in the eye. This account has been suspended. Thank you. And if you didn't hate that, I have a CD for sale. I've got half a box of these I've been trying to get rid of for 2 years, so thanks, Brenda.
Thank you, and don't stab him in the eye. If you haven't donated and you donate $10 or more, put your name and address down, and I will be donating most of this to Doctors Without Borders. They will send you a tax receipt. Okay, we're going to get started with a very special man, Stanley Fefferman, who I've known for... Well, I took a course with him in the 70s at York one summer, and it was a really memorable course. I never forgot him, and I never forgot the approach he took, a very Buddhist approach to poetry. And this man, Stanley, came to February 2016 at Charlotte Hale's gorgeous gallery, and he came back the next month and did more open mic, and I finally said, "Are you Stanley Fefferman who taught at York?" He said, "Yes." So it's just been nothing but wonderful since then.
Can I have a kiss?
Yes.
Mwah. Ooh. Okay. I'm not going to tell you how much I love her. I'm not. But I do. So I'm going to read a few poems. I'm aware there's a shortage of time, and I feel magnified by the echo effect. Drew, Oh no, I have there, that's better. So I'm going to read a clutch of poems from my book, Home Was Elsewhere. Thank you, Luciano. Yeah. And they're generally, they're love poems, so I call them poems for golden oldies. And whoever else is in that category. The first one is called Autumnal Commentary. Life winding down, dismembered limbs resembling tree branches hang from the flies, paper cutout hands crunch under dancers' feet like leaf litter, arms reaching to sky in giddy awakening of the flesh that often comes with age. Two dancers, both briefly nude or in flowing gowns, cut low to the hips, their muscle control deeply erotic, make transparent the imagery that lives inside the body as pleasures of age rekindle sensuality and a deep acceptance of the world as it is. That's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Calligraphies. Your body curled under me like calligraphies of smoke from the burning tip of an incense stick set in the earth of a potted rose bush that stands on a table near the window. Oh, click, click, click. Thank you. After. There are no mountains this morning, and there is no sky, only snowflakes falling out of luminous gray onto the close few houses and trees framed in the picture window, half filled with fronds of papyrus behind the blue eyes of you having coffee in my kimono. That was nice. That was nice. Thank you. That was very nice. This one's nice too. It's called Old and New. Age has softened her as ivory. Warm and still in passion she lies like a desert blooming. Her little cries are the keening of fire and water spirits pent in the earth and yearning to mingle with the sky. Yes, yes, thank you, John. Yeah. All right, now this gets a bit more domestic. Feeling the cold. Waking with you in the soft bed made up on 2 tatami mats, your room unheated and the windows open to the mountain air. I imagine we are in the mountains on Marpa Point making breakfast tea. I feel my fingers pick twigs for the fire, sweep the gray sands ceremoniously into patterns, and set the cold, clanking metal teapot on the rocks to boil. Later, in your kitchen, I do, in fact, boil water in a copper kettle, carefully set the table for us, and enjoy the smell of wood smoke in the Lapsang Souchong tea. Then, driving to work, we stop at the service station to fix your tire. I pry the frosty hubcap loose, hear it fall clanking on the cement, and begin to feel my vision of making tea on Marba Point is coming true, and I am suddenly very happy. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, moving along at a tremendous clip. Black spruce. Black spruce sway in the wind. I turn to them for solace because they never complain. White paper consoles me. On its surface, words appear like cricket chirps. When I think of your goodness, I burn and become restless. Meanwhile, what to do? When we are together, there is such a flowing. Then, what to do? I want you to understand, star-crossed lovers are the only kind. Love is out of this world. And this one I'm closing with. It's entitled Her, and I dedicate it to Brenda, about whom so much can be said that in this case, the less said, the better. Just think of her and feel this. Her, trembling aspen hairs, quick tail of squirrel move in her. A slight wind, red tulips touch, and again touch. This world is big enough to be my lover. She forgets me. Tomorrow, again, I'll see her everywhere, playing with distances. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oops. Okay. Turn off.
He knows how to honor pretty much everybody. Thank you. I just can't imagine the Toronto poetry scene without you anymore. Become such an integral part of the whole, everything, all this year is wonderful. Our next amazing spotlight is a very special, uber talented lady. I'm so happy to have met Anna. I featured her. She pretty well comes out every month. And so she's going to come and perform for us, and I think Tom is going to accompany her. So welcome, Anna.
Okay, so yeah, oh, that's much better. Yeah, I'm very honored to be a part of this today. Brenda's last salon. You know, it's last things are always hard, right? And I'm very honored to have met so many talented people over the last few months, and I've met Tom longer ago than a few months ago, but he's also one of these very talented people, and I'm glad that he's staying here. He has a gig to go on to, so I appreciate it.
They are all invited too.
Yeah.
We all go to Whalen's Gate.
Hey, sounds like a plan.
Near Kiel.
Oh,
it's a nice one.
All right. Yeah, I've never been there. Yeah, cool. Anyway, so I'm here to bring the LGBTQ to the SALON, right? I think I said that last year too. This is the second year in a row where I haven't been to the Dyke March because I've been playing, but I actually prefer to be playing. So that's kind of good. There's a lot to be said these days. I'm glad that there's a lot more awareness being brought to issues in the queer community that aren't pertinent just to middle-class white folks. And I'm really glad last summer saw a real beginning in that direction, and I want that to continue. And one of the main focuses for me, and that's grammatically incorrect. Foci. Oh, that sounds lovely. Yes, thank you. Foci. For me has been, in Toronto we can live in a bit of a bubble. We think that, LGBTQ folks everywhere have it as good as we do in Toronto. And even in Toronto, we're getting beaten up in the street. So yeah, this song is for everybody who has had to basically put up with some stuff and has come out a stronger and better person for that. And it's called I Am Who I Am. 2, 3, 4.
I'm out, I'm proud, I've done the things I vowed. Nobody gonna take away my freedom. If you believe my friends and I shall leave, you're gonna have to fight us everywhere. I am who I am, no matter what you say to me. I am who I am, no matter what you do. I am who I am, no matter what you take from me. To myself will be true.
Thank you.
You call me ill, my kind you want to kill, and then you sing of heaven's love on Sunday. But I can see through your hypocrisy. It's hatred of yourself that you betray. Oh yeah, I am who I am, no matter what you say to me. I am who I am, no matter what you do. And I am who I am, no matter what you take from me. To myself will be true. Take it away, Tom Hamilton. You took from me my sense of history. I grew up learning how to hide my secrets. But now I found my people all around. You will find you ain't seen nothing yet. Whoa, whoa, I am who I am, no matter what you say to me. I am who I am, no matter what you do. I am who I am, no matter what you take from me. To myself I will be true. Keep on playing. And I am who I am, no matter what you say to me. I am who I am, no matter what you do. Oh, I am who I am, no matter what you take from me. To myself I will be, oh, I will be true.
Nice, nice, good rhythm section. Thank you. Thank you so much. Awesome. Happy Pride, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Anna. And yes, this last salon is right in the middle of Pride weekend. And Pride, to me, really is the freedom to love. So let's celebrate the freedom to love. Thank you. Isn't she fabulous? Okay, now we have another really special poet, Clara Blackwood. Woo! We probably all know Clara and have her book and love her work. She was one of my first features back at Urban Gallery. Yeah. And she came and did the fundraiser last year that for Fort McMurray Fire Relief Fund. Yeah. This is a good one.
It is, and I want to give you a big hug for everything. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I'm sad that this is the last one, but it's also a celebration, and what incredible stuff we've heard this afternoon. So really enjoying this event and all of the ones you've done, Brenda, and look forward to all the stuff you'll do in the future, because you always find new venues and new things to do. So yeah, obviously not very much time up here. I'm going to go right into these poems, which are about archetypes and something I'm fairly obsessed with. The first one is called A Golden Hunger. She wanted the most dangerous ambrosia, whatever radical deities were willing to bestow, a nightshade salad, whatever could harm and heal, destroy and make better, bring her to the edge of the hallucinatory cliff. Third eye ablaze, she could barely touch his forehead alone and not take in the blue of him. His brink-checked life brought on transcendent appetite. She wanted to drink to over-satiety, every last drop before the gods, to wear the headdresses of near-vanquished goddesses in a secret piazza at high noon, devour the illustrious fruits of a clandestine religion. Together they would trove the seven wonders under fervent stars, taste the siren song infused in wine, and be led elsewhere in lieu of a crime. Thank you. Choice. The goddess wants what she wants. White stag, peacock feathers, a child in her name. It's not about what you want. You are the stage actor, and she the living backdrop. You can only repeat her patterns, feel the pain of too much love, dress her desires and devices like an underskin. Do not wear black or red, these offend her. Choose oceanic colors, the scent of tangerine cascading through a realm of plenty. Remember, you never had any choice. It was the price of bliss. Thank you. And I'll conclude with this one, Burying Persephone. She held me captive some 40 years until the can't-take break of the psyche, egg-white death clamoring for release, until I lived the patterns beaten and distorted and bored. Where did the equilibrium go? Was it something I never possessed? Assailed by the constant pitter-patter of unseen disturbance, like a group of plaths at the bottom of the ocean. To be claimed by a fearful goddess is to hold tension between opposites, to exist in a state of heavy diffuseness, a constant stranger in the day-blooming world. And what happens when you reach the end of the descent, when grief, terror, and ego dissolve? How do you bury the mistress of the dead? Thank you.
Claire's a very magical lady. I'd like to welcome John Evans, whose feature at Tom's Salon I missed, so I'm so delighted he's come out to share. Is that a good height?
That's lovely. That's lovely. Thank you. You can stay there. Thanks, Mel. I had no idea you were so important. They told me if I didn't show up, I blew it. So I'd like to present to you three manic depressives by a new poet called William Shakespeare. I call him new because every time you meet him, you seem to rediscover something else in him. So I didn't write this stuff, but it's very personal to me. And oddly enough, when you hear these depressing ideas, they make you feel more alive. I don't know how he does it. So Hamlet shows up, and he meets two of his great buddies from childhood, and then somewhere in the speech, he realizes that they've betrayed him. I have, of late, for a reason I know not, lost all my mirth, forgone all custom of exercises, and indeed it goes so heavily upon my disposition that this goodly frame, the earth, seems to me a sterile promontory, this most excellent canopy, the air, look at this brave o'erhanging firmament, this majestical roof fretted with golden fire, why it appears no other thing to me but a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. What a piece of work is a man. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty and form and moving, how express and admirable. In action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me, nor woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. Now, Jake Reason, as you like it, is a hippie. He's in the forest and he watches life. Some people call him a Buddhist, some people call him an existentialist, some people call him a bum. But he's definitely a spectator of life. And there's joy in this too, even though it sounds very cynical. All the world's a stage. And all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms. And then the whining schoolboy, with his shining face mewling on his way to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. And then a soldier full of strange oaths, bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick and quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation to eat in the cannon's mouth. And then there's the judge, in fair round belly with good capon lined, thigh severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again towards childish treble pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, in this strange, eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. And then there's the Scottish king. We can't say the name of this guy because in a theater, if you say the name, you have to run outside and turn around 3 times and spit. Because there's so many accidents connected with the name of this play. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps this petty pace from day to day until the last syllable of recorded time. And all our yesterdays have lighted fools away to dusty death. Out, out, brief kennel. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is seen no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, signifying nothing. Everybody feel better?
Really wonderful and so great to hear Willie, our great-great-great-great-grandfather Willie. It was a beautiful performance, John. And I'm so glad you came out and shared. So wonderful. Okay, we've got, I think, 4 more people, wonderful poets. So Mikel is up next. I'd like to welcome Mikel BC. We have a connection, a Zambia connection.
Hi. Favorite quote of mine, medieval mystic Meister Eckhart once wrote, "If the only prayer you ever say is thank you, that will suffice." So thank you, Brenda, for this salon, and all the inspiration. And thank you for encouraging me to get my butt back on the poetry stage, too. Appreciate that. One of the ways Brenda often introduced me was as a fellow acolyte of Jacques Derrida. So I'm going to indulge you, Brenda, since it's the finale, with a quote of Jacques Derrida. Some of you might want to cover your ears. Hi, Claire. I chose this because it's Pride weekend. Jacques Derrida was once put the question, what if we approach the area of the relationship to the other where the code of sexual marks would no longer be discriminating? So this is an interview, not something he wrote. And yes, he talks the way he writes. Derrida's reply was, the relationship to the other would not be asexual, far from it. It would be sexual otherwise, beyond the binary difference that governs the decorum of all codes, beyond the opposition feminine-masculine, beyond homosexuality and heterosexuality, which come to the same thing. As I dream of saving the chance this question offers, I would like to believe in the multiplicity of sexually marked voices. I would like to believe in the masses, the indeterminable number of blended voices, the mobile and not identified sexual marks whose choreography can carry, divide, multiply the body of each individual, whether they be classified as man or woman, according to the criteria of usage. Happy Pride. Okay, short and sweet. I work in a bar, I work late, so this certainly suits my mood right now. Exhausted, before the arrival of the sun, before the dawn of conscious desires, for keys, newspapers, clocks, schedules, before the breath of morning is lost to the ideology of morning, before dreams vanish into necessity, ambition, and the elusive clarity of light, before dreamtime melts into daytime, before all that, before clocks can tell time, before the orange and purple sun fills everything, already exhausted. Almost prose, earth breath, 1,000 orange patterns traced on the rose of the earth. We're quiet, remembering, a lifetime of moments collected in small bowls. Reaching towards you, simulos y menos. Leaves are hands, fingertips, a tree grows birds, learns to fly, keeps reaching outward, towards something outside. Maybe that's for the Salon. Another way Brenda sometime introduced me that surprised me was as a fellow Zambian. I was born here, but I also grew up in Kitwe, Zambia. And Brenda, I recall you lived in a village in Kafue National Park, is that right? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Go to Zambia one day, please. So I'll read this because I think Brenda likes it and because I think there's a trace of Africa aesthetically in it, not literally. Ooh-doo. 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 Ha-hey. Ooh-doo. Ha-hey. Ooh-doo. Ha-hey. Ooh-doo. Another time. 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 Ooh-doo. Flower land. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Fire hands. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Hailstorms. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Rain stars. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Old tree. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Lily star. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Clay love. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Mud star. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Shadow hands. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Water heart. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Another time. Ooh-doo. Ooh. do, ooh, do, ha, hey. And writers always drop a quote from the canon. You're much more likely to get a grant.
Thank you, Mikel. And wow. Next up is Charles Taylor. Charles, yeah, who just had a book published that I had some small part in, and it's called "The Stupidity of Fuck."
Anyways, yes, I wanted to thank Brenda for hosting all of these salons over the years. I'm sure she spent hundreds of hours of working on the videos and arranging things, so good for her. The book is dedicated to the late Nick Beat. I'm sure all of you here know who he was and what an influence he had on the literary community here in Toronto. And I'm going to read 2 poems. And the first one is entitled The Entrepreneur. One night as I smoked a cigarette outside a club on St. Clair West, a raggedly dressed girl of about 20 walked up to me, smiled, then asked for a smoke. She had torn stockings, a face pockmarked by too many piercings, and the unwashed odor of a street chick. After I gave her one, she said, "Can you spare $5?" I told her no, wondered whatever happened to beggars wanting a quarter for a cup of coffee. But I thought that with everything else escalating in price, maybe street people had to ask for a lot more money. Then she said, "Would you like a date tonight?" I knew it was a euphemism, albeit a courteous one, for, "Would you like to stick your penis in my vagina for some money?" I declined, said I already had a girlfriend. She quickly left, walked to the other side of the street, and urgently chatted with a middle-aged man waiting near a streetcar stop. I felt strangely betrayed, wanted to be the only man she propositioned that night. But still, I admired her, thought she was an aggressive entrepreneur who, if she had been born into a wealthy family, might have headed one of the Fortune 500 companies. The next poem I'm going to read is from my childhood. It's entitled Changes. I remember 1968 as a time of change, even more than the previous year, the summer of love. I noticed people in our town wearing different clothes, acting differently. Men no longer wore white shirts and black pants, and women quit wearing mid-leg skirts and bobby socks. And I was the first kid in my class to wear a paisley shirt. Mrs. Bellegarde, my teacher, called it my hippie shirt. The others in my class were envious, teased me. It was the first time I felt proud of my attire. That year, my body began changing too. My voice dropped, and I noticed my first pubic hair. It was an oddity. I wonder if there would be others. One Sunday afternoon in May, my sister and I, bored with the usual kiddie games, decided to become merry pranksters. We had seen the hippie kids in the news wearing odd clothes, dancing weirdly, with flowers in their hair. We saw our father sleeping on the couch and decided to give him a hippie makeover. We gathered dandelions, made a wreath by pulling the golden heads off, hooking the stems inside each other, then placing a dandelion flower in each loop. Then we put the wreath on his towy-headed hair. We wondered how long it would take before he realized it was there. Laughed mischievously at his transformation. After 15 minutes, he awoke, swatted the wreath away, not even looking at what it was, glaring with annoyance, then promptly going back to sleep. There were other changes that spring, all invading my safe child's world via the TV. Martin Luther King murdered in April, the intense manhunt for his killer, riots in America, scores of cities aflame. Then Bobby Kennedy's assassination 2 months later. I remember watching the TV that evening, the screen fading to gray as a monotone voice said, "Bobby Kennedy has just been shot." And me, knowing he'd probably be the next president, and remembering his late brother's death, was so shocked I ran out of the house to tell the neighborhood kids the sad news. I ended up at the gravel pit behind the church, where kids tobogganed in winter and smoked their forbidden cigarettes. I saw my friend Tyler, breathlessly told him. His lips began quivering. He too knew that hope was once again quashed. A little later, Mrs. Bellegarde took a leave of absence, was replaced by Mrs. Vanny, a freckle-faced woman of about 30. She was vivacious and more of a mum to us than Mrs. B had been. What I remember most were the two real calisthenics in the playground. Just before recess, to make us limber, she made us do jumping jacks, leaping in the air, arms stretched outwards, legs spread apart, then bring them together just before they hit the ground. There was a song that went with it. Ham and eggs, I like mine nice and brown. I like mine upside down. And each time she jumped, I noticed her breasts bouncing mischievously, her pointed bra, fashionable then, making them jut out as if they were two ice cream cones underneath the sweater. From then on, in class or on the playground, I would gaze at her tantalizing breasts, my mind straying into fantasy, picturing how I would lick and suck them. Or I would bite the tips of her bra, imagining sweet milk trickling down my throat, something I often did when I ate ice cream cones. A childish thing to do, but something that gave me pleasure. Thank you. I have copies of the book for sale if you're interested.
Wonderful. There's a whole book of those stories. So we have two beautiful, brilliant, wonderful women to close with. Alexandra Innes is up next, to be followed by Jennifer Hosein, who will close the salon. I'm so happy it's Jennifer who will be doing this. So welcome, Alexandra. She has a chapbook coming out soon.
So I want to honor Brenda for the enormous amount of work for a very long time that she's put into these salons. And if, as Brandon said, and of course if Brandon said it, it must be true, we are luminous beings. That's what these salons are. They're a gathering of luminous beings. And if also, to quote Brandon, if I may, because I was very struck by his poem, that the departed can never be erased, then that means that both Nick Beat and Leonard Cohen are with us in this room. I'm going to do a poem that is a true story, as most of my work is. There's a few things I'm going to explain, because it takes place in Quebec. So when you hear metro, that means the subway. The autoroute is the highway here. There's an allusion to the film Klute. Klute was an early 1970s movie starring Donald Sutherland and Jane Fonda, in which Jane Fonda plays a very high-class hooker who is so good at what she does that sometimes she just talks with her clients in order to satisfy them. And the poem is called Bienvenue au Canada, which means in French, welcome to Canada. It all begins innocently, with a girls' night out after a 12-hour work shift. A couple of drinks, a few laughs. No big deal. Alone in my new country for less than a month, I don't know that the banks are shut for Thanksgiving, so I have no money for a cab back from the boonies to my immigrants' downtown Montreal rooming house. Lorraine drops me off to wait for a bus. I stand alone and shiver in the cold October night, surrounded by strange, silent streets of dark, staring houses. I wait, and I wait. No bus, no money, no idea where Lorraine lives. Long after midnight, I start walking, a 21-year-old girl looking for the way home. Spying the lights of an open donut shop, I enter to ask for directions. The counter clerk asks me if I'm driving. I say no, and he tells me the way to go. But something's wrong. This is the auto route. I walk along the shoulder, more lost than before, but far too tired to turn around. A car pulls up beside me. A man asks if I'd like a lift. As I get into the car, I don't listen to the small voice inside me that quietly says, "This is a mistake." We talk as he drives. He's a French-Canadian truck driver. Then he drives straight past the cut-offs for downtown Montreal. The pit of my stomach churns and my mind turns numb in disbelief as he wordlessly leaves the island and heads into the countryside. He pretends not to understand my French as I plead that he's making a mistake, that I'm not that kind of girl. He just grunts. When I try to jump out the passenger door, he grabs me by my hair and drags me back. When I clutch at the steering wheel to crash the car, he punches me in the head. This can't be happening, this can't be happening, this can't be happening. This is happening. A chill calm cloaks my terror, and I choose rape over dying. With the hope of flattering his ego and reducing the horror, I recall Clout and fix on acting the role of a sexual ingenue. He heads for a deserted country road and stops the car. He climbs on top of me and uses me for sex on the front seat. My acting is good enough to change his mind from doing it a second time. He falls asleep in the driver's seat. I sit next to him in the pitch dark night, helpless, in the middle of nowhere, not knowing where to run, and too terrified to try. The car radio plays. Morning light arrives. My rapist awakes and checks his wallet to see if I've robbed him. He drives back towards the city and drops me off at an outlying metro station. Exhausted but alive, I make my way back to the shabby room I call home. For weeks afterward, I tremble with fear when men look at me. I never go to the police. Every girl knows that in a man's world, it's supposed to be her fault. Thank you.
Alexandra has come when she featured and shared her Leonard Cohen poems. And she holds nothing back. She gives everything, and she touches you so deeply. That's a terrifying story, you know. And you write it so beautifully. So thank you. So my very last feature for my very last salon, or monthly salon, who knows what the future holds, is Jennifer Hosein, who was one of the first people I met when I discovered the Toronto poetry community through Nick Beat back in April 2011. At his kitchen party. I met Brandon there as well. No, Stedmond came later. And so it's been years, and friendships go through all kinds of coils and ups and downs. And but you know, when you have a true friend, you know there's nothing better in the world. So welcome Jennifer Hosein.
I'm ready to cry. It's true, we met in Nick Beat's kitchen, Brandon and Brenda and I, and began a group of friends who hung out a lot for many years. And here we are again. So it's an honor for me to end this night and the salon. Aren't you going to do something, Brenda, after? No? Oh, okay. Well, it's an honor. I feel sad now, very sad too. Anyhow, thank you, Brenda, for supporting artists for so long. I believe, I was there at the first, at Urban Gallery as well, at the first Salon. Yeah. Oh, wow. Poet and artists. Yeah. Luciano, you were there too. And, performing, and that was fun. We had some fun afterwards, and I hope we do that today too, right? Okay, I've got just 3 short pieces. First, I'm going to tell you a little story from a long time ago. It's, as Brandon said, brand new, unheard. I wrote it a few years ago. I got it together from my manuscript that I just finished, and I've never read it. I think nobody's read it except the people who read my manuscript, which I think is only one person so far. And it's called Velvet. So it's an old story. 2 nights before I was to marry, the hawk-nosed madman, you appeared. Russet-haired boy-man, let me lean into your bear's back. Let me drink from you until dawn. I awoke to the telephone's cacophony, sun burning through the slats, pondered the marriage license on the table and my daughter's gleaming hair as I went out the door. But you appeared again, tall as a carpenter, sleek as a boy, flesh and blood in Yvonne's kitchen, a glint in your green eye. So we drank, and children ran in the house. I prayed to a God I did not believe in, that the night would not end, that you would not leave us on the street, driving off in your white van. But you did, so I put my daughter to bed and answered the telephone that had been ringing and ringing. The madman called me names, accused me of this and that. So I put my daughter in the stroller and walked like the wind to the bar where you were drinking in a red velvet booth. We lay my sleeping daughter on velvet like a princess on a pea, and I put on my best funny and charming until closing time, wishing you would take us home. You took us to your house beside the railway tracks, and I put my daughter to sleep in your bed. A train raised the dead as it rolled by. You went to sleep in the living room. Of course, I eased myself out of your bed, careful not to wake the child. You were sitting by the window, listening for trains. So we smoked a little, and I told you my tales, until you sent me to your bed alone. I went home in the morning, answered the phone, listened to the madman's mad tales. Father dying, I love you, blah, blah, he lied, bold-faced. You did not save me, bear man, after all. I saw you on the street in the fall. I was with my husband and my daughter, bruises buried beneath a crooked smile. You flashed your green eyes at me, and you were gone. I don't have any happy poems for you today. I thought I would read a couple of new pieces because many of you have heard my recent pieces. So, the next poem is called History. I think I only read it one time before. I've been holding this one back. Anyhow, History. Look at me on his bed. History will not untie me. His story, always his story. Someone's his story. His cock dances around me. His cock like a beacon, a game of sticks. I tire of the ins and outs of me, my beauty laid flat on the bed for his story to unwind the night, the morning, the clothes from my back. I am just undressed, no lace, no red, no perfume, just my skin is me. My last piece, I've read it here before. A few of you have heard it a few times now. I'm sorry. But I began to write this poem in the fall before the American election. I was thinking a different way, and then when the election came and things happened after the election, I started to think a different way. And I'm still thinking that different way. I hope it changes. But I guess it's what was there underneath, and it's just popped up again to the surface. I don't know. It's called White, after November 8th, 2016. I used to daydream that white was a tablet you could place on your tongue, and the morning would be a better place. But here now, in my tiny radius of the world, St. Clair to the lake, Dufferin to Pape, I am almost white. I pass through doors and no one sees me or calls me names to my face. But it's only here that I pass, in perfectly pressed clothes that I nip and tuck to not draw attention to my skin. Not north, where I'm a stain that warrants... Not north, where I am a dark spot on snow. Not south, where I warrant walls to keep me out, registries, bullets, and jails. The other day it occurred to me that I didn't wish to be white anymore, the way I had wished when I was 10 and 7 and 5, the first time I was punched, spit on, pushed, barred, called Paki, and go back to your country, and you don't belong. That was a long time ago, when I couldn't walk with my head up or down. In those times, I was a fortunate one. I wasn't beat up, scrubbed out, mutilated, or bombed. But yesterday, they put a noose around a boy's neck and yanked. And they are yelling, go back to where you came from, and your time's up, and Heil Hitler. I think I might need that pill soon. Thank you. Thank you, Brenda.
To invite everybody up to the stage.